All right, let's get into it, man. We got Florida going to Utah. In this game last year, this was a thriller. AR, in my humble opinion, just said I'm him, and that was the reason why Florida was able to win that game last year. And now there's a couple sides to that too. The defense made plays when they had to, and everyone and their mother is wondering what's going on with Cam Rising. Is Cam Rising going to play in this football game? They're not tipping their hand at all in Salt Lake City, and why would you? So I don't blame them for that. But for Florida, there is a lot of internal confidence. A lot of internal confidence. You don't hear them talking about it very much, but when we sat down with Jason Marshall at SEC Media Day, the sophomore corner for them, I think he let it slip a little bit like, yeah, we know what's being said about us. We know what the narrative is around Florida Gator football right now. And he told me, he's like, we're about to shock the world. And now I don't know if that's something that he meant to say on air, but regardless, he put it out there. And I think that's probably how they feel internally. I think there's a very real confidence. For Utah, though, I mean, they're like your favorite restaurant. You go there, you sit down, you know what you're going to get every single time from them. There's top 20 in returning production this coming season, and it feels like with Kyle Whittingham running the show over there, every single year, returning production or not, you know the style of ball they're going to play. You know the approach they'll have defensively and offensively. You know they're going to be tough in the trenches defensively. Like we kind of know what we're getting from them. But going back to that question around Cam Rising, is he going to play in this game? At the time of us being live right now, we don't have a firm answer on that. But if it's not Cam Rising, it's going to be Bryson Barnes. We saw Bryson Barnes step in the Rose Bowl against Penn State. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Bryson Barnes. I'm just saying if you don't have Cam Rising in this football game, you feel very different about your chances from the outside looking in. And even if you do have Cam Rising, how effective is he? We'll talk about that here in a second. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've liked the video. It's college football season. We can't waste any more time. We want you all a part of this. So thank you in advance for locking in with us. All right, so some keys to this game. Like DJ Khaled would say, man, a major key here, line of scrimmage. Line of scrimmage, and that's sort of football 101. Like we're not providing groundbreaking analysis saying who wins up front is going to be a big factor in this game. But I think for both these teams, there's going to be a similar approach from a game plan style. For Florida, they want to feed their best players. And their best players are Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson. They are going to let them dictate the terms of this game. They want to feed them all game long. And the beautiful thing about this for Florida, they have two backs, meaning you can have a little bit more fresh legs series in and series out as you rotate them. For Utah, their identity is going to be the same as it's been previously with running the football and playing tough defense. But I think this becomes even more important for them because you don't know what you're getting at quarterback. And Cam Rising, even if he does play, if he's, a little bit limited in his mobility, that makes it even more important to, one, protect him, and two, to be able to run the football to kind of loosen up that Florida defense just a little bit. So Utah wants to impose their will in Florida. They want to be able to give Graham Mertz a little bit of breathing room with making those safeties creep up, and then those receivers can separate and good things can happen. So that big question, regardless of what happens there, translates to what you ask your quarterback to do. And for Graham Mertz, like I just said, there's two things we're going to ask him to do for Florida. One, we want to make that box lighter. So that's going to be a key thing to watch. If you're watching this game at home, look at where the Utah safeties are lining up, snap in and snap out. I would be surprised if we don't see them up towards the line of scrimmage to start the game, just because, like we talked about, the best players for Florida are the running backs. We know that. Utah knows that. They want to add numbers, I would imagine, to say, Graham Mertz, throw the football, beat us that way. And so a curious thing that could happen here, what if Florida, right off the bat, goes play action, hits a deep post, 30, 40-yard gain, then watch where those safeties line up at the rest of the game? So one, can we lighten the box if we're Graham Mertz to be able to give our best player some room to run? Or two, can we just be timely? Like even if Graham Mertz's stat line isn't phenomenal, let's say he goes 12 for 23 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. That might be good enough to win this football game if those 2 touchdowns come at the right time. Also, it goes without saying, turning the ball over can't be a world you live in if you're Graham Mertz. Now, for whoever's playing quarterback for Utah, you just need to be able to run the show here. We need you to keep us on schedule, and we need you to not give the ball away to this Florida defense. Because a big thing that's going to happen here with Austin Armstrong now calling the defense for Florida, whether it's a Cam Rising who's not as mobile as he was previously, or it's a Bryson Barnes stepping into this spot, Austin Armstrong is going to dial it up. He is going to test whoever's playing quarterback back there and see how much they have. Because if Florida can keep Utah off schedule, that changes this game drastically. If you can put Utah into obvious passing situations, advantage Florida every single time. Not because Utah doesn't have the weapons. They do, and we'll see what happens with who else is healthy in this game. But if Florida's able to put them in obvious passing situations, then you give Austin Armstrong the chance to either A, dial it up, or B, play a little bit more conservative and just try and get your offense back onto the field. So the early tempo of this game is going to be huge. And when I say tempo, I mean whoever draws first blood in this one, who's able to kind of catch the other slipping early, that's going to be huge because both sides want to be able to apply pressure to perform on the other offense. And what I mean by that is if Florida's able to, let's say, go up 13-0. Let's say it's 13-0, end of the first half, and you have either a not totally healthy Cam Rising or Bryson Barnes playing quarterback for you. That's a tricky spot to be in because they don't want to be a quick strike offense. They want to control the tempo. They want to ground and pound. But if they're not able to do that because they're down and they're having trouble getting things going offensively, well, time's going to start running out, especially with these new clock rules. So, if we're getting a healthy Cam Rising in this game, I mean, I think you take Utah no problem. Like, that's how I feel. If we were getting a Cam Rising copy-paste from what he was a season ago into this game, I'm taking Utah. I'm not thinking twice about it. Now, with that being said, I really think that Florida's defense with Austin Armstrong is going to be substantially improved from where they were a season ago. Even more so, I think the depth for Florida's defense is in a different place. And we're going to find out here. We're going to find out early. Yes, it's week 1. Yes, you're fresh. But the altitude with Utah and Salt Lake City, that's going to give us a good temperature, at least, for where they're at defensively. I think with Etienne and Montrell Johnson, with those two cats running the football for you, takes the pressure off Graham Mertz. And I also think this fresh start for Graham Mertz is going to be a game changer to what he could be going forward. Like, I think what we saw with Michael Penix Jr. and with Bo Nix and, heck, with Joe Burrow forever ago. I mean, like, we're going to see I think, revitalized Graham Mertz in a situation where they're going to rally around him and put him in position to succeed. And so I think we actually see Florida win a close one in this game. I think Florida ends up winning. I think they find a way to make a few plays late. And I think they win this football game 27-24. A lot of that, again, is predicated on if you get Cam Rising at all and what version of him you get. I don't know enough about that right now. None of us do. Credit to Utah. I'm picking Florida to win this football game. And think about what that would do from the confidence standpoint for Florida. How much have we talked about Florida and what they're not going to be in 2023, and it's a rebuilding year, and all that still may be true about them trying to kind of build for the future. But if you were to go to Utah and beat the back-to-back Pac-12 champs, think about, one, the confidence boost and the way that we look at Billy Napier going forward. Think about what that does for Graham Mertz. I know there's a lot of talk about what he hasn't done and what he wasn't at Wisconsin, but if he goes out and leads this team on the road to a win over Utah, I think you can kind of drop the mic if you're Graham Mertz and say, all right, we done talking now? We done having opinions about me? Let's go play. So I'm excited to watch this one. Again, we got Florida winning this game. Utah's a 6.5-point favorite, so it goes without saying we have Florida covering that number, and we also have Florida winning the game. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.